Are you trying to nail down your first legit pull-up? Maybe you've knocked down a couple pull-ups and you want to get to double digits. Well, I have news for you. Pull-ups are hard, and they're hard for a lot of people, so you're not alone. In fact, in order to even qualify for the Army Rangers, the bare minimum that you need to be able to do from a pull-up standard is 6. But just because they're hard doesn't mean that you shouldn't aspire to do them and do them well. It's my belief that everyone should be able to do at least one pull-up because it's a form of self-mastery. If you can control and lift up your body weight, I think that that's something that everyone should aspire to do. And I think everyone should try and be able to get multiple reps as well. Pull-ups are great for core, back, and arm development. There's also something really simple and enjoyable about the pull-up. You can go to any gym in the world and see thousands of dollars of equipment for specific exercises and specialty equipment for specific exercises. But at the end of the day, for a pull-up, all you need is a bar over your head. And you can look up at it and it's you versus the bar. So before I dive into the exercises and the programming necessary to improve your pull-ups, let's first address the muscle groups that are involved and the technique that you want to aim for when doing pull-ups. There are 4 main muscle groups for the pull-up. You have your core, biceps, lats, and traps, specifically the mid and lower traps. And according to this EMG analysis, they activate in that same order as well. And when it comes to form, I really encourage you to emphasize the form tips that I'm going to give you. They're going to help immensely, and don't be afraid to film yourself. You want to make sure that what you think you are doing is lining up with what you are actually seeing on the camera. So first, you're going to want to start with a consistent grip. I like to throw my thumbs in line with the widest part of my body and start there to find something that feels comfortable. Next, you're going to start the movement by depressing your shoulder blades. It's going to all be one fluid movement, but this is the first thing that you want to initiate. From there, you're going to bring your elbows into your back pocket. Think about driving your elbows down to your hips. Next, you're going to bring your chest up towards the bar, and the goal is to get your chin over the bar. Typically, that is the gold standard for being able to count a rep as a rep. And finally, throughout the movement, keep your hips extended, your abs engaged, and cross those legs behind you to make sure that they're not swinging around. Some really common mistakes that I'll see clients making is they're going through too short of a range of motion, either not going all the way up or they're shortening themselves and not going all the way down. The next mistake I see is going to be kinetic chain looseness. What that basically means is that as you're doing your pull-ups, the rest of your body is flailing around like a Raggedy Ann, and you don't have any stiffness or rigidity throughout your core and your column. As I mentioned previously, make sure that you keep a slight tilt to your pelvis so you can keep your abs flexed, and then keep your hips in extension. The legs can be down below or they can be tucked behind you and crossed. Whatever you're doing, make sure that your pelvis is pushed forward. Next mistake is going to be going too wide or too narrow. If you go too wide, you're making it really hard to be able to go through a full range of motion, and it's going to impact your ability to even do pull-ups. And if you go too narrow, you're not going to utilize the muscles that you're targeting for a pull-up. And speaking of grip, that's something you definitely want to make sure you work on so that grip doesn't become a limiting factor preventing you from doing more pull-ups. And you can check out this video here where I give you multiple ways that you can improve your grip strength. Next, let's break down the muscle groups for the pull-up and identify exercises that you can do specifically to target those muscles. For the core, I'm a big fan of functional breathing to train your deeper core to work as one integral unit. And I'm also a big fan of bracing, so hollow holds and planks is going to help make sure that your spine and your entire core is one solid structure. Next, you have lower traps. Doing scapular pull-ups is a great way to not only get better at the skill, but it'll strengthen your traps as well. For the lats, I really like kneeling lat pull downs or half kneeling lat pull downs. I prefer these versus seated because the core is going to be something that's a lot more engaged as opposed to just sitting there seated. It's not to say that they're terrible. Assisted pull-ups is another one very similar to this. You do want to make sure that you're engaging your core because it does have a big carryover to an actual pull-up. And finally, you have alternative exercises to a pull-up. That can mean anything from an assisted pull-up using bands, where you are basically helping yourself do a pull-up by attaching a band to the bar, dropping your knee in there, or you can do negative pull-ups, where you are slowly lowering yourself down. Typically, people can do heavier weight on the eccentric than they can the concentric. So that's gonna allow you to really get stronger as you work on those negative pull-ups. You can also include a neutral grip pull-up or a chin-up. Those are gonna give you a little bit more help with the bicep, but they definitely count and will help you get towards your pull-up. Now, here's how I would think about programming to try and get your pull-up stronger over the course of, let's say, 12 weeks. For each exercise, I'm gonna do 3 to 4 sets, and I'm gonna program them 2 times a week at minimum. For reps, I'm gonna aim for 5 to 10 reps, and then I'm gonna aim for 2 minutes rest. If you're doing anything less than 5 reps, you're essentially doing a maximal effort lift. Same as if you were doing a squat, same as if you were doing a deadlift. If you're doing 2 or 3 reps for a pull-up, you're gonna wanna make sure that you're resting anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes to make sure that you're getting the rest needed and feel recovered so that when you go and attempt that again, you're not completely drained. On the flip side, if you're getting more than 10 reps, I would do something to increase the loading so it brings you back into that 5 to 10 rep range. And then if I was gonna lay this out on a training day, I would do something similar to this. I would start with core work and scap pull-ups to do some activation. Then I would go into my big compound movement for the day. That's going to be pull-up focused. That could be anything from band assisted pull-ups, body weight pull-ups, or working on your negatives as well. But set those at the beginning of your exercise so that you're as fresh as you can possibly be. That's gonna help you improve more over time. From there, I'm gonna work on accessory exercises like an inverted row, working with a TRX or a barbell. And then from there, you can finish with some lat pull downs as well, half kneeling or a kneeling position. When it comes to progressing, I'm a big fan of adding weight. You can either add a dumbbell between your legs and just pinch it between your knees. You can do a weighted belt and attach plates to that, or you can use a weighted vest and make your pull-up harder that way. Another thing I would maybe do is add in variations to those pull-ups one time a week. So maybe on Monday, you're working on your pull-ups, and on Thursday, you're working on chin-ups or neutral grip chin-ups, just to work throughout that range of motion with different grips. Last point I'll make on these is the importance of consistency. Pull-ups are a skill, and every time you are practicing a skill, your brain is getting better at mapping out that movement. And so if you give your brain the ability to get rep after rep, day after day, week after week, over the course of months, you're going to progress in your pull-ups. Same thing with nutrition, same thing with sleep. You gotta make sure that you're consistent with those. Those are for another video entirely. But at the end of the day, if you get at the end of a 12-week plan or you get at the end of a 12-month plan and you haven't improved your pull-ups, you gotta look at the person in the mirror, because the plan works, but if you don't work the plan, doesn't matter. Thanks for watching. Drop any comments or questions down below in the comment section. If you got value out of this video, I appreciate it if you would leave a like and hit the subscribe button to catch future videos. My name is Paul Klingen, and I'll catch you on the next Return of the Athlete video.